Hi, everyone. I hope you all are safe and taking care of yourself and practicing community rest and intentionality. My name is Diogene Terrell, and I serve as the program coordinator here at In Our Own Voice, National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda. And today we have a very timely and focused conversation about safety. Today, we're going to discuss safety planning and what it really means for our communities today as we are facing some true challenges and obstacles within our cities. Specifically, we're going to go straight to it and address the hostile takeover that is happening in our Black and Brown cities and how it's targeting our Black community members and provide strategies on how to tackle these yet again, unforeseen times. And we're going to have a real talk about what's happening within DC, Chicago, Portland, Memphis, and why proactive safety is a form of love, liberation, and survival. So, do you know what's in your go bag? Do you know how to prep and prepare for those unforeseen times? Let's talk about what's going on with our students, our kids here within the city, specifically as I serve as the program coordinator for the Next Generation Leadership Institute. I do want to start this conversation by noting that there has been some attacks and challenges for our HBCUs. And the HBCUs are spaces where within the Black community where we strive to create true change. And here in our own voice, we want to set the precedent and note that violence will not be tolerated towards our HBCUs and will not be tolerated within our communities and spaces as we are looking at a global shift with violent policing, surveillance, and just an overall pushback for us towards our liberation. So that's what we're going to discuss today. I am welcoming and so happy to be here with our guest speaker today, Imani B. And I am so excited to talk to you before I debut our before I review our safety guide, where we're just going to discuss showing up and staying safe using our personal security planner. So, Imani, thank you for being here with us. Please provide a brief introduction for the people to let us know who you are and what you've been working on here in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Getting the invite to be a part of a space like this is very special for me, especially in this time, as a Black person, as a mother. I am Imani B for anyone. I am an HBCU graduate, a proud HBCU graduate with parents who both attended Howard University. I am a mother. I am a humanitarian. I am a world traveler. And the work that I do here in DC is really just putting myself in the places and the spaces where I understand that my privilege is an asset. And I think people forget that even as a marginalized person, an intersectional person, you have privileges that you can use for a greater good. And so I do that as an able-bodied person. I'm okay with myself being outside on front lines, being in spaces and places where we can protect our kids with our physical bodies, and also partnering and being in community with organizations and people in this city, specifically in DC, that are doing the same. So,
Absolutely. You said a mouthful. I just want to just echo everything that you're saying. Like, it's about safety and uplifting the third RJ tenet, which is the ability to parent and have children in safe and equitable environments. So this showing up while staying safe personal security planner is something that is coming out at a very timely time, noting that, as you said before, like, there's a lot of things going on here in DC, and we really have to make sure that we are using our privileges and our intersections within community to really uplift those voices of marginalized people and ensure that if they're not being centered, how can we expect to be protected in the end as well? So Before I move on, I would love to mention that you can now download our personal security planner from In Our Own Voice using this bit.ly below here. Please, as we approach the holidays, as the semester winds down, as we are getting ready for the kitchen table conversations, I would love for you all to bring this out. You can find this at bit.ly/IOOV Personal Security Planner. If you can't understand what I said, it is also right there in front of you in the banner. So let's get into it, Imani, as we want to dominate these time constraints. So, why is it important to center care, not fear, when we talk about personal safety?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we have to recognize and reconcile is that care is love, right? And so what does care look like, right? To start off, like people often think like care is something outside of you, but
Mhm.
care is an internal thing, right? How do you love on yourself? How do you love on the people around you? How do you show up if you can? And how do you create a space of safety within yourself, within your own home, within your own enclave of community? So for me, care is really a practice. It is something that is not like a one off thing. It is something that is a constant that we constantly do and that we constantly groom ourselves to be intentional about, and saying, like, when you have those moments of your chest pains, maybe you need to step away from something. That is
Yeah.
care. You know what I mean? We have that anxiety. We feel those bouts of depression. Maybe that means like step away from it for a second and then get back to it when you can, or hand it off to somebody who can carefully continue in the work or whatever it is that we're after. So I think care is a vital part of who it is that we are as a community. But as a part of that is we often care for others a lot more than we care for ourselves. So that's why I said it's a first and internal job. How do I
Mm.
show up for myself? If I feel tired, I've gotten to the point where if I feel tired, I will stop and I will take a nap.
Yeah.
I don't
As
care
you
what's
should.
happening throughout the day. I am a profound follower of the nap ministries, and I will nap. I will nap. And I recognized years ago I used to go through these extreme chest pains, and I would have to like take really deep breaths. And obviously, if you have the accessibility to go to a doctor and get that kind of stuff checked out, I went and everything looked fine. Everything came back normal. And I'm like, I feel like I'm having a heart attack. And so I had to identify for myself, when am I going to allow myself to not get to this point? When am I going to actually take a moment to like stop and breathe and reevaluate what it is that I'm doing in the moment? That is care.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That reevaluation of like, okay, maybe I'll just stop. Maybe I'll have some water. Maybe I will eat. Cause I know a lot of us will get straight into the work. We
Hello. We will stop everything and skip a lunch break to make sure the work is done.
dehydrated, headache, you got the shakes at some point, ready to faint. And it's like, no, the care starts with you first. And it's more important that you start there and then allow that to branch out. And so for me, it's really a matter of, evaluating yourself, evaluating your circumstance, what it is that you can hold and what it is that you need to put down.
Absolutely. It's like that the phrase that the flight attendants tell you before, like in a case of mercy, put your own face mask on first before helping others. How can you expect to pour from an empty cup if you're not taking care of you? It go like you said, looking at the individual approach really helps someone tailor a community approach. And if you ain't taking care of you, how do you expect to take care of community? And being a Black woman led organization focusing on Black women, we hear stories time and time again about how Black women are always at the forefront, taking care of things and prioritizing in community. And they're not pulling back saying, hey, now, I can clean up a little bit. I can get my hair braided because I haven't been taking care of myself and I haven't eaten today. So yes, it's about, like you said, looking at the individual and taking care of the individual first before we put ourselves self in space of community, because the community is going to turn you every way but loose. And as long as you're grounded in your boundaries and you're grounded in your space, you'll be able to effectively
Yes.
create a space of care for others. I love the way that you said that. It's an intentional
Yes.
practice. It's something that is continuous. So as we talk about the things that we're up against in the now, as we said, like militarized forces in our cities, and we're here living in the Cheetos regime, so to speak. um I would love to hear about your interpretation of what's going on in DC as a Black woman living in this experience, being on the front lines, and if you can speak to what are other Black women seeing in these cities across our nation.
Yeah, being like on the ground, like I tell people, like we're literally in the thick of it. Like we have the entirety of the government right here,
Yeah.
like in our actual back, front yards, side yards, all the yards. And so to actually see what it's like, the experience of knowing loved ones who work for the federal government and deeply impacted, to see what is happening with the airports because we have two major international hubs, literally one in our backyard,
Mhm.
to see the over policing, to literally walk outside of my door and see National Guards with firearms on their person and have to explain to my 8-year-old, like, hey, this is what's going on and why. You know what I mean? There's DE agents, there's Border Patrol. We ain't got no border. Babe, we don't have no border. we don't we,
We are not neighboring another country.
like Virginia.
It's the
Like
D, the M, and the V.
that's all we got. That's all we have. But people, who are outside of this that may not have been experiencing it, like Chicago, like LA, are probably just like, oh, they're doing this for the better. Meanwhile, the folks of us that have been on the ground, and people even longer than I have, that have been doing this work, that have worked in youth services, that have literally told the government, this is what we need. These are the things that we need. We just need resources. We just need, things for our children to do. We saw just,
Programs.
you know what I mean? We just saw a week and a half ago the National Guard chasing kids out of Navy Yard. And people are like, yeah, they shouldn't be out there anyway. What are they supposed to do?
They don't have a third place. Where are they supposed to go?
Where are their third spaces? Somebody explain that to me. People also forget and negate that sometimes kids don't want to go home, and they have
Mhm.
very valid reasons as to why they do not want to go home, and they find their safety outside of their home. But when they don't have an additional space to go, they go wherever they can find a space. And so ultimately, what it is that I've been seeing, it's egregious. It's over policing at its finest. We've found literally the amount of people that have been stopped, harassed, and assaulted in these times have done absolutely nothing, right?
Yeah.
We are expected to just give in to demands that are against the law, right? Are all of these things like you're supposed to have probable cause, you're supposed to have a warrant, you're supposed to have all these things. Now all those things have been done away with, right? And while Black and brown communities have already been over policed and already been under this thumb of authoritarianism by policing in and of itself from its foundation,
Yeah.
now we have an additional severity of what that looks like.
Hyper
And
surveillance. Yeah.
oh yeah, oh yeah, and it's very jarring. It's very jarring when you recognize that they could spend millions of dollars on a ballroom at the White House, but just to get like a couple of grand of funding for some youth programs is far too much. Feeding people is far too
Yeah.
much. Far too much.
Cutting Wick and Snap to be able to, like you said, fund a ballroom and fund trips to Mar-a-Lago in places where someone can go golf when there needs to be true policy work done. And our government is experiencing one of the longest shutdowns that we've experienced in our nation's history. As you said, from inception, this was written by design to keep, Black people and people of color in these spaces of oppression. And I can only note my own experience being in this area, like coming out of Metro Center, and they just standing there, lackadaisical, not doing much. These are where our tax dollars are going to, where there are places that here in the nation that have experienced national disaster that can need that type of support from our National Guard going up and helping clean up and finding resources and delivering things. Like, these are our tax dollars at work. So it's not that we don't have the funding, it's the fact that folks don't want to use the things for the right purposes. And being in DC and watching kids not having third spaces and budgets being cut here, curfews being enforced, instead of saying, you know what, how can we meet the people where they are and what they need, and listen to that. Not only is this a federal issue, this is a local issue as well. So it takes thoughtful and intentional leadership to make those really big policy shifts to make our people feel safe and have those equitable environments that we talked about. This ain't happening in Bethesda.
For sure. Because and let us add, because I want people to recognize where we are now is not a red versus blue thing.
Agreed.
This is an all hands on deck thing. And so when DC City Council is making approval for this and that and the other, but not third spaces for our children, when they're making approvals for RFK Stadium, when that money can go to the unhoused population, or ensuring that people in this city are housed, are fed, are given whatever it is that they need, right? It's, for me, red and blue goes out the window. It's a matter of your humanity. Agreed. And what you stand on. And unfortunately, DC also has a leadership that doesn't stand by its constituents that are in Ward 7 and Ward 8 across the Anacostia, that really need the resources and the help. We're talking about at the start of the National Guard, they were saying they're spending $1 million a day. Do you know what $1 million a day would do in Ward 7 and 8?
A lot. At the basis, put trash cans on each corner so we can clean up the community.
Hello, somebody. Feed some kids. House
open some grocery stores. Because if you did not know, which we'll talk about this in our next prompt, DC is in a food desert. Parts of DC are in food deserts. And the research shows that it takes 3+ years for people to change their eating habits post leaving a food desert. So what that being said is, you have all this time to spend money on bringing the National Guard here within a year, where you could be building people equitable grocery stores with healthy produce and healthy food options, and not feeding them rancid food, and actually changing the trajectory of people's lives. It's more, like you said, it's more than just a red and blue issue. It's more than a conservative and liberal issue. It is down to the how much are folks willing to spend to make certain change. And for certain things, they're willing to spend a lot, but on others, they're not. So this leads us to our next prompt. What do you want people outside of DC to understand about how urgent this matter is, this urgent matter of safety and protecting and preserving our communities?
Yeah, I think it goes back to, obviously, downloading the kit. The toolkit is very important. It's something that I've been using in the past week, because I've been checking off things that I'm like, oh, okay. I don't want to give too much away, because I need y'all to download this PDF. I really do. I need you all to download it. But it really sets up the tools for those of us who are unsure. You know, a lot of people are afraid to be on the front line. A lot of people have a lot of fear about being physically outside or whatever. Downloading this tool, you ain't got to be physically anywhere but where you at.
Agreed.
And share that with your loved ones. You can share it with your friends, and y'all can get on a Zoom if you need to and say, hey, a part of the toolkit is something that they got that has check-in. How can we establish something within our own community where we check in with each other once a week, twice, whatever? Write it down in your toolkit, right? That's what it's there for. It's understanding that everyone has a role to play, right? We're in DC. We don't have a Senate. We don't have a House. We don't have representatives.
We don't have statehood.
We don't. So we need you all that do have statehood to make the right decisions, as we are seeing currently right now with our Democrats that are doing whatever it is that they're doing and selling us up the river. But we need you all that do have statehood to make sure that you are putting the people in place that potentially help us in what it is that is governed in our district, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in addition to that, right, educating yourself. I could not say this enough in terms of education. It's not from an elitist standpoint. It's not that you have to read 100,000 books a year. It's really about the basic things that are happening in your corner of the globe. Your local elections are probably the most important. Your city council meetings are
Absolutely.
probably the most important. The things that are happening within the quadrants that you live in is where you need to be tapped in. You need to know what's going on with your school board, because then how will you know what's going on with the kids?
Bingo.
Everyone point the blame. Oh, it's the teachers. No, it's the parents. It's the. But nobody's showing up to bring school supplies. Then what are we doing? Right? This
Quickly, identify your comptroller. Identify who is in charge of ensuring safety and zoning,
hello,
making sure who's running for sheriff in your county. Come on, someone.
hello.
Like you said, it's about having those conversations and planning out. Like, I'm glad you are highlighting the guide has a detailed guide of how you can start planning. Like, there's a lot of misinformation, whether it's intentional or we're just spreading it along. Like, a lot of people are like taking in a lot of things at the moment,
Yes,
and this planner really provides that guide of where do I start.
yes.
I'm a South Carolina native. I'm in South Carolina. I don't know how who's running for what. I don't know what to plan for because what's going on in DC, it hasn't come to me yet. But where should I start? I feel like this guide is a wonderful step to say, okay, do you know your laws? Do you know what's on your ballot? Do you know who is actually vouching for your community? If not, this is an assessment. It's not to make you feel, like you said, like I got to read 100 books to finally understand what's really going on. It creates that foundational learning of this is where I should start. This is where I should be. And like we said, as we are talking about coming up with conversations for the holidays and looking at proactive planning, I want to ask you, Imani, how do we bring these conversations into our homes, into our friend groups, and into our chosen families? Because some people, they're like we said, they're not in this space. They're not tapped into the front lines as we are. So how can we say, no, this isn't just a them thing, this is a you thing too?
Yes, this is very, very important because, especially for Black folks, right? Because sometimes our families be like, girl, everything sounds like a conspiracy theory. Like,
I'm gonna give it to
um,
God.
like, okay, because I remember last year, um, my man and I, we started putting food together in a storage. We were like, we're gonna go and every like month or however we can, we're gonna put some food, we're gonna stock it. We got cans, we got rice, we got beans, peanut butter, spices, sugar, we got medicine. Like, we would just like stack and put all these things, you know, and we have it stored, right? To
Yeah,
where when things happen, we're not hysterically reactionary and running and pulling toilet paper and water off the shelf, right? We we are at the juncture where the conversation needs to be, how do we get ahead, right? How do we stay ahead of the things that are happening? Because let me tell you what the other community is doing. The other folks
they've been
stay ready so
prepared.
they don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
They stay ready so they don't have to get ready. And when I'm not just talking about food, I'm talking about the other things. And if you ever watched, for anyone who's watched the Hurricane Katrina documentaries, and you are wondering, like, wait, why were they hunting Black folks? They will use whatever opportunity necessary to buy ammunition. As a 2A person who is licensed in 29 states, I will tell you every moment that happens. I don't care if the weather changed and it was warmer today, them folks is out buying ammunition before they're buying toilet paper. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just want us to be able to say, where's the initial conversation that we can have? Maybe you're not on the I got a go bag ready. In that go bag, I got this and the first aid kit and all of that, right? Maybe that's step 10. What's step 1 and what does that look like for you and your family? Maybe step 1 is, okay, I need everybody to ensure that they have a sufficient amount of medicine or a
Yeah.
sufficient amount of canned foods. Or, every month we're going to put cash money into a box because we know our banking systems might fail us. So cash money, we're gonna put that into a box. Everybody's gonna put in $5, $2,
Fire
$3.
resistant box. Fire resistant box.
Listen, I got one that's fire and water resistant. Okay, you need it. Your
Yes.
documents, your birth certificates. Black folk, I know we love to make sure Mama got it. Do you got yours?
Not a copy, the original.
The original. Your social security card. If you have a passport, put those things away. Put those things where it's compact to where if you gotta grab and go and do your thing. Because when we see examples throughout our history, like Tulsa, right? One of the things that we learned about Tulsa, and some of us may not have learned this, but I'm gonna give you some game today, was that when Black folks went to the bank, they didn't have ID.
Yeah.
And so those folks kept our money. They kept our folks' money, y'all, because they didn't have ID after this massacre of our folks and our people. And so we can no longer depend on anybody else to come save us. We have to stay ready so that we don't get ready. And as we've been saying, it may feel overwhelming. So start where you can. Let's say, okay, as a family, by December, I need everyone to make sure they have their birth certificate, social security card, and driver's license or state ID. Those three things, that's when we starting off. And then when we get to January 2026, we'll be on to something else. Maybe quarterly, maybe monthly, something. But that's the most important part, is making sure that you're on an accord with the people that you love most.
I agree. You've said a mouthful. Like, overall, just taking an assessment of where you are. Like, do you know how far the nearest gas station is? Do you know where the nearest hospital is? Do you have a primary contact if something happens to you? Who's looking out for you? Are you connected to your neighbors? Do you know your neighbors? Things like that, asking those questions and assessing where you are. As Imani said, know what's going in your go bag. For me, I got my medications, my inhaler, a little weaponry. That's my business. As well as I'm prepping other things in the house. Like, I'm going back to old school country methods. As a Southerner, getting a deep freezer in my house, that's all I want for Christmas. That's my goal for Christmas. I want a deep freezer, and I want to be meeting a butcher near me so I don't have to worry about the larger grocery stores not having meat or running out of supplies. I know a man that got a cow, and I got a cow in my deep freezer. So just looking at ways that you can be like, all right, how can I make this not only beneficial for me? How can I ensure that I'm not breaking the bank? Because no one's asking you to go spend thousands of dollars on survival kits and building. But you can start off small by getting your documents together, putting canned goods away. If you get water, stack up some water. Make sure your flashlights
Yeah.
have batteries in them. Like, going back to the old school foundational methods of preparing for disasters or preparing for emergencies.
Yes.
Which leads us to our next question. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but I really want to talk about the planner, like what's in the planner. Imani, what's one part of the planner that you think every household should start with? I know you gave us a little bit of tips or
Yep.
things where they can start, but what do you think is like the section or space that they should start with?
I think one of the good areas, I said it before, was the check-in. I didn't realize how important that was of a tool until I recently went to Cuba, and I did not have cellular service. Okay. I had no Wi-Fi connection, no nothing. So I had to go almost dark being overseas, right? And I recognized, I'm like, do I have a way to check in? If something happens to me, do people have a way to contact me? Do I have emergency information stored somewhere? And I think that's a great starting place for people, because you don't have to purchase anything, you don't have to do anything. You just identify who are your emergency contacts, put them in there. I have an iPhone, you can literally put it in your settings, an asterisk next to the people who are your emergency contacts. It gives like a red like asterisk next to their name in the contacts, right?
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. What are your And also, there are organizations where it is that you live, unless you're in the deep South, because I know the South is still working on a lot of things, but I know that there are a lot of organizations that are erupting that are giving you alternative numbers to police departments. So if you have an organization in, like, I'm talking grassroots, look for Black queer led organizations. I promise
Yes.
you, they more than likely have something or a number that you can call in the event of mental health crisis, in the event of you feel like you're going to be harmed, but you're not comfortable with calling 911, right? That needs to be in your check-in, and everyone around you needs to be privy to what that is, so that way we're all on one accord. If something happens to me, call this number.
Yeah.
Don't call 911. If something happens to you, call this number or call this person. Don't call 911. So I think that check-in is very important, and also like keeping yourselves on an accord. Like, okay, every third Wednesday, we just gonna tap in. How's everybody? How's the weather? You all right? You all right? What's going on, etc. And making sure that we kind of know what's going on with each other, and also how to continuously keep each other safe.
I agree. Our founder here at In Her Own Voice has this phrase in her book where it says, like, she developed a sister circle. Now, she was talking about this in respect to advancing your career, but I feel like it can be applied here too. Like, your close friends, if y'all have a schedule, y'all talk, me and my homegirls, we talk very regularly. If they don't hear from me for like 2 weeks, I know I'm getting a call. Hey, where you been? Ain't heard from you. I think even in these times now, we need to be tapping back into our community a little bit more. As you said, developing that check-in system, because we are truly living in unprecedented times and we need to keep account for each other. People are literally being taken off the streets. We need to know where you are. We need to know and develop these safety plans to be able to say, this is outside of her norm. We know this is outside of her norm. Let's go ahead and contact that organization that said they will go out and make sure they'll start looking for her.
And
Or let's discuss it with these people. Go ahead, Imani.
and to that end, sometimes I'm a D&D girl. Sometimes when I just need a little moment, you know what I'm saying, I'm putting you on D&D. But when you have that moment, because I know we are also in a generation where it's like, I don't have to, I gotta
Yeah.
present myself, I gotta prioritize myself. Also understand that it is okay, that even in those moments, to understand that sometimes people just mean well in wanting to check in to ensure that you're okay, that you're still with us. Send them a little something back. Hey, I'm good on D&D. Something, whatever that, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever device you have at this stage, you can preset those messages. Hit one and send, and it'll send it to whomever, and they know, okay, that person's good, we all right. That way they know what your system is. Because as we have seen, especially with Black women, trans women, femmes, we understand that when it comes to harm, we at the top of the list. When somebody
Agreed.
can get that phone and they be sending text messages to your people and it ain't you. So check-in is really another level of safety, because it allows us to know, oh, that ain't Imani. She don't never say that. She
Agreed.
mm,
Me and my homegirls, we've developed like code phrases like, hey girl, Blue, we not feeling good today.
yes,
I'll take some time. If you say Blue, are you feeling blue today? Yeah, girl, feeling a little blue. I'll talk
boom,
to you later. We already know what the vibes are and
yes,
setting up. And even then, as a Gen Z person, zillennial, so to speak, send me a meme. Let me know you alive.
yes,
Let me make sure you okay. Because I know what type of memes my homegirls send me. And if it just feels a little me, who is this? Do we have an intruder? Is there an imposter among us?
hello,
So like you said, figuring out what your communication style is, and just ensuring that we are honoring people's boundaries, because we
yes,
don't have to talk every day, and
yes,
also making sure that we know that you are still in the number. I do want to begin to round this out and close out this conversation, but I do have one more question before we go to the closeout. And I want to ask for the folks who are a little hesitant, they don't know where to start, um, or a little bit overwhelmed, how would you like introduce them to this resource? Like, what would you bring forth to the table as a way to say, like, hey, this is, like I said, for you?
Yeah. Ultimately, it's like, just look at what it is that we're currently experiencing. All the things that certain folks didn't think could happen to them is happening to them. And so, one, prioritizing the very real notion that it can be you,
Yeah.
that what happened in Altadena with that fire can be you. That what happened in Appalachia with that hurricane can be you. That what is happening with the National Guard literally harassing and profiling people, Black folks, Black American folks, can very well be you. Citizenship be darned, because they don't care, right? They are allowed to profile folks. Okay. And so understanding that, you know, when you have tools, you never know how comfortable you will be when you are able to use a tool that you have.
Yeah.
It is better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And so I think that this is a best place to start, because like I said, it doesn't necessarily go outside your home. Look, my toolkit up on here on my laptop. Pull it up real fast, remind myself, print it out.
On your
Let
phone.
Hello, right on your devices. You know what I'm saying? Set an alarm for yourself once a week, once every other week. Go over it, whatever it is that's necessary, because it is so necessary that we're keeping not just each other safe, but keeping ourselves safe. And I think to myself, as a Black woman going anywhere, I want to make sure that I'm on point, that I have all the necessary tools in my toolkit to be able to go at this world. And then also being a mother, how do I then navigate that space as well, and ensuring that I'm sharing this toolkit as well with my community, so that way they know, the other moms that are at my son's school, hey, download this. We have immigrant families that are in our mom group. Hey, download this. This is going to be great for you and your families, because it is a matter of us keeping each other safe. And so ultimately, that's what it comes down to. It is a very base level. It's about safety, and it is about recognizing that there's very real harm out here that people are experiencing, and none of us are above it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Imani. And if you're just tuning in or you came a little late, we were discussing showing up while staying safe, the personal security guide planner that was developed here at In Our Own Voice, the National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda. As we know, we are dealing with some trying times, some unforeseen times. And as I close out, I just want us to recenter and know that there is joy and liberation. There is a liberating piece to our story. So, with that being said, Imani, I do want to close out on a happy note. We've talked about the impending doom. Let's talk about the impending joy that we're going to have as we navigate these trying times. So, what is one message you would leave with folks as they head into the holidays?
Yeah, one of the things that, I want to lead folks into is understanding that you have so much power. And I think that we have been in a society that teaches us that we don't. So that way we don't exercise what that looks like. So let this holiday be a means of not consumerism, right? We don't need all the gifts and the bells and the whistles, right? But let it be something of joy, where you're with the people that you really love, that you're with the people that really make you feel safe, and that you're honoring yourself, even if that means I don't want to be around nobody this holiday. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to rest. I'm going to watch my show in peace and call it a day. I'm going to be off of work, whatever that looks like for you. Just understanding that this is not necessarily a time where you have to, you know what I mean? Choose you and choose what's best for you. And I think that that is the best part of joy. Everyone thinks joy has to be something, again, as I said from the start of this, that is outside of us. It's
Yeah.
like, no, it doesn't have to be outside the walls of your own home. It could be the thing that is very minute, like, oh, I had me a sweet tea today, girl. It was so good, you know? And I think I think sit with that, in this holiday season. Don't force this to be, something that is so picturesque for social media as people feel like they need to do to keep up. I think an economic boycott will bring us a lot of joy, a lot of joy,
You know,
starving out the economy, keeping our money in our pockets, and taking care of our loved ones and being with ourselves and the people we love the most. That is the greatest joy to me in this holiday season.
absolutely. And I would just add practice radical rest. It's
Hello.
okay, like you said, to sit down. Black women, we've always been at the forefront of movements. Let someone else come to the front for a second. Take a breather, take a breath. And if you want to get back on the lines, my good sister, you do the same. You do that, enjoy that. But for those who need to take a break, prioritize that break. And with that being said, I would like to thank everyone for taking time out today to sit with us and learn and strategize and leave with tangible tools on how we can protect ourselves and protect our communities and stay safe in these times. Because let's just say it, we've always kept us safe and we will continue to keep us safe. With that being said, y'all, take care of yourselves, protect yourselves, and we'll see you on the other side. Thank you, Imani.
Yes, thank you.
In a time when our rights and our lives are under attack, we need bold truths and trusted voices leading the way. Outspoken with Regina brings policy, power, and purpose together, uncensored, unfiltered, and unapologetic. Now streaming wherever you get your podcasts. Follow, subscribe, and speak truth with us. This is Outspoken with Regina, and we're just getting started.